Well, now, the Greek startups. Where are we today? And what they have already achieved. So, I think this is an important issue. And the topic is from local innovation to global integration. So I would like to call to the stage Alex Tsilfidis, engineering manager, Greek side lead, meta technology entrepreneur. A warm welcome. And George Varvarelis, Global Sense and Act Engineering Director and Head of CNH Greece and ex-Augmenta. So the conversation is going to be moderated by my colleague, Despina Konti, journalist from Kathimerini.
Great. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the final panel for today's conference, From Local Innovation to Global Integration, the stories of Greek startups. Let me set the scene for you regarding startups in Greece. In recent years, Greece has developed a small but vibrant startup ecosystem. In 2024 alone, Greek startups raised more than 500 million euros, and many of these companies started very small in different regions of the country, and some of them managed to achieve international recognition. So with us today, we have two entrepreneurs who made this journey, one starting from Volos, the other from Patras. So, without further delay, let's begin with your stories a little bit. So, George, how did you come up with the idea of Augmenta? And looking back, what was the most unforgettable moment for you? Augmenta was acquired in 2023 by CNH Industrial, a global agriculture leader in agriculture. So tell me a few things about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, before I say how we came up with the idea, I have to explain a little bit what Augmenta is doing. So Augmenta uses computer vision, so cameras, to perceive the farming environment, so canopy, leaves of the plants and plants themselves, to understand their needs in real time. So what Augmenta is doing is we use cameras, we understand the conditions, and then we connect with the tractor or a sprayer to apply more or less fertilizer, more or less herbicide, water, or any other crop input that is required. The outcome of the Augmenta application is savings of chemicals from going to the field, and at the same time that means money for the farmer, obviously. They spend less money in chemicals, and at the same time we are helping the environment not overpollute itself, practically. So that's what Augmenta is doing. I come from a farming family from the middle of Greece, as Despina said, in Volos. So I grew up around farms. I did my bachelor in electrical engineering, my master's in robotics, and then my PhD was in computer vision. And then that's when I met Jim, my co-founder, who is also a farmer and engineer. So it makes sense. We grew up around farms. We knew the needs of the farmers. And we started working initially as part of academia, so writing papers for this stuff. And then we very quickly realized that there is value, actual value for farmers. So that was the natural beginning. It was the appendix of my PhD thesis, practically. So yeah, that's how Augmenta started.
And what was the most unforgettable moment for you during this journey? I think there are a lot of moments to remember, huh?
Yeah, I mean, many moments. I can think of two. I guess there's a third one which has happened just a week ago, but I guess the very obvious one in my mind is the time we realized that this is valuable and not just valuable for a paper, it's valuable for many farmers around the world. And that was before we even started the company. What we did at the time is that we actually built academic prototypes and we actually went to the farms and tested them. They were super ugly, but still they worked. And seeing the face of the farmer, the first time that they used a system like ours, which was of course outlandish at the time, right? 2016, nobody was doing this stuff in the farm, especially in Volos, right? Or around Volos. Right. So it was completely game-changing to me to see the face of like a farmer that has never used this stuff, to think and believe from his eyes that this is something that we have to pursue. So that was the first one. And then the acquisition, right? The acquisition was a huge validation for the team and the work that we've done because it happened by the second biggest tractor manufacturer in the world, who sells around 60,000 tractors per year. So that was a huge, of course, validation for all the work that we've done from 2016 to 2023. And I guess to wrap up with the final one, which happened just a week ago, that big manufacturer, CNH, just announced that we are going to be offering the Augmenta solution from the factory as an add-on. When you try to buy a car and you spec the car and you say, I want color red or I want these types of seats, that is exactly the same with tractors, but you will be able to pick Augmenta as well as an add-on. So that's a massive, massive milestone for us, because before we were selling, 100 units per year, and now we're talking about 50,000 units per year. So it's a massive, massive scale-up and a huge moment for us.
For you. Great. So Alex, co-founder of Visionaries, and now he leads the Greek team at Meta. You started in Patras from a small room, a small basement in Patra. So how hard was it to build something locally that grew on a global scale? How did you manage it?
Yeah. So for us, we didn't even have a choice. Actually, the story of Visionaries is exactly the same, like the story of Augmenta. Changed whenever you heard agriculture, for us it was music. So exactly like Yorgos, I was working as a composer actually while I was doing my undergraduate studies. I was writing music for films and theaters. And Elias, my co-founder, he was actually a sound engineer for shows, like live bands. And we both did our PhDs in audio signal processing in the University of Patras. And exactly like you did, at one point we said, okay, enough research, enough papers. Let's try to build a product for the real world. So it was, the journey was like that. The music scene and in general, like the creator scene in Greece, it's a very small country. It doesn't make sense to put all this effort in order to build for just like this small country. So we never had the chance to build locally and expand globally. We started from day one in our biggest markets, which were actually the US and especially the West Coast because of Hollywood, and also London, like the UK, Germany, Japan, all those countries. I wouldn't say it was hard because we lived in the internet was already there. I mean, we started having sales globally. In retrospective, what was different back then was that there wasn't a lot of experience in Greece on how to build good products. So we had to make a lot of mistakes. We had to pivot at all times. 2013? 2014, something like that. Yeah, that's where we started being serious about building a product and not a technology. So this was something that was very hard for us to try to build this product mindset and understand how to actually build for the user and not for the academics and the technologists that lived inside us.
That was a huge challenge for you. So now what are you doing? What technologies your team is working on?
Yeah, so now the Greek team, my team at Meta, actually we are part of the video infrastructure. So we basically develop technologies for the whole family of apps, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, everything that you have in your phone basically installed. Our specialization stays the same. We work on the creation side, on video creation. So we are doing a lot of exciting stuff that help you create faster and better videos in order to share with your friends in Meta's apps.
A great scale-up for you as well, I think. A huge scale-up for the company.
Yeah, our apps have like 3.3 billion users per day, so basically half the population of Earth.
Yeah, of course.
This is basically the biggest change for us. When we were acquired, we went from 10 to a few hundred thousands of customers to billion of users. The scale is unimaginable, and it's a really big and interesting challenge from the engineering perspective.
And the impact you have with your technology is totally different, I think.
Yeah, that's the dream of every engineer, I think, like to be able to, okay, in a small scale, influence the everyday lives of everyone around us. And also now we can explain to our mothers what are we doing, which wasn't the past, like the case in the past.
Yep.
So, okay, I have a question from both of you. From your experience, what are the key factors that help a startup company grow and succeed? Well, who wants to start? George.
There are a couple of things here that come to mind. The biggest one, I think, for every startup is the team. And everybody says the team. But it's when you don't have a lot of money, you can't make a lot of mistakes. So you have to have either talent or massive experience in building teams. And that's what I think is the number one factor for building a successful startup. So having the ability to build teams early that stay long throughout the journey and the ups and downs that will inevitably come. So team is one. And the second one, I'm a little bit biased on this one, but I think we share that with Alex, I think, because he also mentioned how he was involved in the industry that eventually became his job. I think that's very key, to have something that drives you forward. Something more than money, I guess, or like just a big industry, or maybe, I don't know, you have aspirations to become a CEO of a startup and that's your drive. Don't get me wrong, that can also work, but I think many times it's more often than not that in the journey of a startup you face walls, you face a lot of forks in the road, and you need that extra push. Nobody's that strong to overcome those struggles just by ambition for making money. I think you need to have some inner power, some higher purpose for the stuff that you're doing to be able to overcome those problems.
Those two obstacles, of course. And what about you, Alex? Do you agree with George?
100%. I wouldn't say anything different. And I would say that I would go to the extreme and say that if you want to like have a lot of money, don't do a startup. Basically, it could happen, but basically, if that's what someone has in mind, that's not the easiest path. Actually, having a vision of doing something good in the world and transferring this vision to the team, and it's the only thing that will keep you alive while the problems will come, and definitely the problems will come. There's no like this story of the entrepreneur who sits back and watches the like the revenues coming and like the bars, the subscribers coming. It's never, of course, true. So yeah.
So a team is the top, I think. So.
Yeah, I think you need a big drive to do something big, and a clear vision to be shared with a lot of people, not just a couple of founders, so that the team is also really important, and the vision of the team.
And the vision. So you mentioned that before, and as you're speaking, a lot of questions come to my mind. But what about the funding? Is funding a matter, really a matter of life and death for a startup? Alex?
Yeah, I can take that. I think it depends of the nature of the startup. Maybe there are a few startups that actually need money. Of course, like you do hardware. I mean, if you do hardware, you need money. Otherwise, there's nothing. For us, we were, like very lucky. We were on the software side, so money was important, but not the definitive factor. We could have, basically, money for us was a way to speed up everything and to make everything happen faster, which is important, but not the only way to go, to the final means. So I would say, I mean, we discussed it in the past, like with you, Despina. Like for us, funding. When we had 3 funding rounds, we raised in total something around 4 million. There was a rule: no one celebrates a funding round. Like it's something like we went the next day at work. Here's the round. Here's what happened. We're not celebrating. We're not allowed. Let's celebrate the users. Let's celebrate the product. Let's celebrate everything that matters. Funding is something that happens on the side.
Okay. And, well, what about you, George? Did you celebrate funding?
No, I absolutely agree. I think funding rounds don't actually mean anything for a startup. It's an artificial bump in evaluation, most probably, sometimes, most of the times. But that, again, doesn't mean anything unless you actually provide some value. There are some examples in 2021, 2022, when you had acquisitions, for example, with no actual substance. These things happen once in a blue moon, but I think the overall rule is that funding is just the means to something bigger. And I also agree with Alex with the fact that not every startup should be obsessed with raising money, because raising money comes with a lot of baggage as well, right? You get maybe you get your first round is from a Greek venture capital. If you're in Greece, maybe the second one is from a UK venture capital. The third one is from a US venture capital. And with every round, there are expectations that aren't always not just fair, but also good for the business, right? Like it's do everything to get growth, even if that means that the product gets worse, right? Sometimes that's the trade-off that you have to make for example, for Silicon Valley venture capital. So I think you have to really take a hard look in your startup, and if money truly unlock growth, because it's a matter of team, it's a matter of maybe it's cloud credits that you need to have to build your next model or make it better. Obviously, or if it's hardware like ours, we need money to build hardware, right? So I think it's a case-by-case basis. But definitely funding, I think it's just a means to an end. What I would say, though, and I'm wrapping up with this, I think it's important for a founder to be able to raise money if they want to. And that's something that doesn't always happen. So we need to be training ourselves as founders and becoming better in telling stories so that if the time comes and if we need it, we can raise money.
To pitch your idea and then raise money.
Yep.
Yes, of course. So let's move to the Greek startup ecosystem. So tell me, how do you evaluate now the Greek tech ecosystem? And tell me, what still needs to be done in Greece to foster innovation in Greece? What still needs to be done? So, Alex, would you like to start?
Yeah, I like to see the glass half full on this one. 10 years ago, I can't even describe how different, 15 years now, when we started. I Googled the word startup after we started the company.
You didn't know that existed.
I didn't know this word. Now there's a full ecosystem. Okay, we went from 0 to 1. I think what we need now is patience, and scale. So basically, we need patience because it was amazing what we did as an ecosystem, like in the last years, to build from nothing to build something in Greece. But we shouldn't expect that we're going to be from 1 to 100 at the same pace. We need this thing to mature. We need second-time founders. We need people to try to work in the big companies, get bored, and go to found the next startup.
We have second-time founders, though.
We have second-time, yes.
Some cases.
But it's happening like organically. We cannot force everything to happen in 1 year just because we had an amazing decade in the past.
Correct.
Some things need time. So I'm sorry, I don't think like there's something that could happen at once. But at the same time, we're in a really good place. Everyone knows that there's this option out there. People are trying. New startups get founded. Some of them are good. Some of them are not good, and they're going to die, which is part of the game. It's fine. It's good that it's happening. And yeah, I don't know. I think we're in a good place in time, but we need more time for us to become a really significant player in Europe as a technology ecosystem. And definitely we need more engineers and more people to come so that this thing can scale. Because for every Augmenta that's doing an exit, they're going to hire more people, so they're going to get from the blood of the next startup. So we need more engineers.
And George, what about you? Are there any new ideas in Greece with strong potential for success? And of course, what Greece needs to do for the innovation sector?
Yeah, I'm also extremely optimistic. I mean, if you just look the current startup ecosystem in Greece versus the UK ecosystem, or the ecosystem in Germany, or of course the US, we are super behind. But if you start giving context to this, which is where we were 10 years ago, we're actually probably, arguably, one of the fastest growing ecosystems in the world, right? Obviously, we're growing, right? Nothing is perfect. But I think we are taking the right steps. This is something that can't be solved with money. It needs, I mean, if you think how Silicon Valley was born, right? It was born from successes of small startups initially, then mid-level startups, and then large caps at the end, right? But it was a journey that, like, I don't know how many decades it lasted, right? To reach its current level. I think you can't replace that. You need success stories that originated from Greece. As Alex said, you need those success stories to be known around the world. The bigger they are, of course, the better. And that's something that needs to happen for us to be able to say that we can truly be global. What I can say, I was reading that actually recently, is about the raw talent that Greece represents around the world, right? We are 0.2 of the global population, 10 million people, but still we have 3% of the top talent in engineering. It's measured by reviews in papers practically in academia, and then at the same time we're number 3 in Europe for AI papers, right? So we have the raw talent. We have now people that left 10 years ago, 20 years ago to go to San Francisco to work for Meta or Google, and that now maybe they want to come back. So we have all the right ingredients for a really, really good recipe here, I think, for the next 5 to 10 years to explode. There are a bunch of things that we need. We need growth capital. I think that is missing. We have a lot of pre-seed and seed VCs here in Greece. We don't have a lot of Series A, Series B VCs, which is important. But yeah, those will come naturally as well. So I'm super positive. And to answer your first question as well, super quickly, yeah, there are a lot of ideas, great ideas in Greece.
No, take your time. We have time.
No, I mean, especially in the AI sector, there are a lot of ideas. Now, I don't think that most of these ideas come from people that studied in Greece and stayed in Greece their whole life. Most of these ideas, from my experience, which is anecdotal, of course, it's small.
You mean the ideas that flourish in Greece?
Yeah. I think most of them are originating from people that left, saw what scale is about. Either that's UK again, Munich, or Zurich, or San Francisco or New York. They went there. They worked either for a big tech company or they made a startup themselves. They exited or not, and then they came back in Greece, and now they have an idea. I think we're still missing the scalability concept in universities or even in our day-to-day work in Greece. So we need that kind of instigation, or that kind of virus of ambition, right? That usually comes from abroad. So yeah, many ideas, but we still need. Yeah. There's a lot of room to grow.
To grow, and there are also many startups that have funded also a lot of startups. I don't know if you have done that already. You have invested in some of them. If you want to share something, or
yeah. So Elias, who's the Axon's co-founder, Michael, who's our third co-founder and first investor, and myself, we have a small fund that's called Optimality. We're trying to find people who are just starting. I mean, okay, we're not a Series A fund. We don't have the means to be one, but we are actually trying to help entrepreneurs in their very beginning. Especially, we're interested in deep tech and in non-VC fundable startups, in things that when a VC are going to see them, they're going to say, no, we need you to be more mature. So that's where we want to get into and help as much as we can based on the experience we have. Okay, it's not our first job. It's not like our day job. We're doing it on the side. But we have a few cases that we're really excited about.
Yes, you told me before.
Yeah.
One from Greece, huh?
One from Greece and one from Spain.
From
We have
Spain.
2 small startups, yes.
Okay.
For me, almost the same. I have an angel portfolio, so no fund, but I do my own investments. I've invested, I think, in around 7 companies
7.
In the last year.
Very active.
And I would say 50% of them are either based in Greece or of Greek origins, meaning a Greek founder in the UK. And the rest are mainly UK. UK based. So obviously, as I preached earlier, I think the ecosystem is growing. I think what Alex is doing is exactly what new founders need. Like, they need people that have been there, done that. Actually, though, and build teams, for example, even in Greece, even outside Athens, and that's experience that I think not a lot of people can share with new founders. So I think exited founders giving something back to the community like that is a huge piece of the future success.
You talked about AI, and I would like also to ask you about that. After all, it's a key topic of our conference. So a lot of global investments are pouring into AI, and the EU, as we said before, is mobilizing billions towards the sector. So where do you see Greece in all this? Can Greece finally be an innovator in AI, or will it be a consumer of technology developed elsewhere?
Yeah, I think it's in our hands. I mean, first of all, something that not a lot of people are discussing is that, so my PhD was in signal processing, and actually some big professors, I'm talking about like huge names that actually defined the field, were from Greek origin, like the probabilistic signal processing, which is the basis of AI. One of the most famous books were written by Papoulis. It's like I think it's MIT editions. I don't remember. I'm not sure. So this one, I think we have a tradition in this field. Also, it's a field where we don't need a lot of. Okay, in order to train the big model, you need a lot of hardware and a lot of power. But in order to do the math and the foundations, you don't need anything. You just need, like good thought and good foundations, scientific foundations. So there's a role for Greece there, because we have the talent, as Yorgos said. Now, from the startup perspective, I was wondering what I would have done if, like I was now starting. And to be honest, it's a double-edged sword, because AI, like when you build a product that's fundamentally based on a new technology, you want the technology to work like on almost 100% of the cases. And there's this 80-20 rule. Like you get something, you have like something that works 80%, which is amazing, and everyone is amazed. But this does not make for a good product. This will not be appreciated by the customers, because the 20% where your technology doesn't work actually kills the product experience. And AI now is exactly at this point where we don't know if the current state or the future state, at least from a startup's perspective, is going to be okay in order to build a product around it. So I think that the founders of today that are building around AI need to be extra careful, more or less the same thing that we had back then, with different technologies. But still, like this 80-20 thing is something that they have to have in mind.
George, anything to add?
Yeah, I have actually 2 contradicting points about AI. One is the fact that I think the future of startups in the AI world is, we call them one-person startups, right? It's when you have all these agents that do a bunch of work for you. We just heard about like PhDs in your phone, pretty much. The less need you have for bigger teams, and that's a great environment for Greece, right? Because we don't have, inherently, we don't have the people, obviously. We're a small country. So we can see in the future startups that are like 5-person strong, 10-person strong, but they do, maybe 20 million in ARR, right? So I think that's for AI in Greece. I, at the same time, think I'm not very bullish on like what we call like maybe a foundational models or infrastructure AI. I don't think Greece might be the best country for that because it's a game that has already started and we are behind. I mean, from Europe, only France is keeping up. But then even France is very, very behind compared to China and the United States. So I think if we want to look at sectors, I actually believe that deep tech, non-AI deep tech, I guess AI is in everything now, but I'm just saying non-foundational AI, deep tech like robotics, like niche things. I think that's something that we can excel more first before AI. That's my controversial view.
Point of view.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have run out of time, but thank you very much for being with us today, and thank you all for staying with us until the end.
Late.
Thank you.